Welcome everybody, it's the Betway Beat brought to you by SoccerBeat, and I've got Farouk Khan, ex-Kaizer Chiefs coach, one of the most respected football brains in the country. Welcome Farouk, as usual. Good to see you, my friend.
Great to see you, Peter. Nice chatting again.
Good. Right, let's get straight into it. The big news, and it's Kaizer Chiefs news, yeah? I mean, obviously Jose Rivera has left and we're going to dedicate a show to him shortly. But the big news is, in last Sunday's Sunday Times, there was an article with quotation marks saying Nabi is going to be fired. And there was a host of reasons they put behind the reason why he's going to be fired, and they quoted a source in the club or close to the club. And what we're going to do in this show, guys, we're going to address the points made in that article. We're going to look at observations that support those points made in that article. These are observations subsequent to the article. We're going to make our call on it, and then if Nabi is replaced, we'll look at the coaches that are on a short list or should be on the short list to replace him and what we think about it. But over and above that, Farouk's going to bring you the wisdom behind, or lack of wisdom behind, past decisions, and the wisdom that should be applied going forward. And there's no better man placed to do that than Farouk. So, going to that article in the Sunday Times, and it was written by a journalist who knows the game inside out, so he wouldn't be just delivering something for glory. There were a couple of very important points. That number one, is on a 2-year contract with a 1-year option. So this will cost them money if they have to fire him after one season. Secondly, he was mandated apparently to get Chiefs into the top 3. That's not going to happen. They spent 100 million rand on players, or 100 million rand investment. That's probably on the players and the coaching staff. So that's big money. He had a full preseason in Turkey, which gave him more than enough time to put this team together. He brought his own full technical team at big expense to the club, and he had 10 new signings. Now, whether these new signings were selected by him or not, but they certainly improved the club with 10 new signings. We don't have to go through them. We all know the players. The only one who hasn't really performed or got a game is Sam. So, but nine new players were in that squad. So the question is, that let's assume, Farouk, that story is true, and that he's going to be gone at the end of the season. My first question to you: is that fair to him?
Look, Peter, when there's smoke, there's fire. Obviously there is something in those rumors. Rumors are obviously something that happens when people start talking to people about whether it is a football matter or it's a business matter. And as you know, as much as football is an entertainment object, it's also big business. And when you spend the money that you just mentioned, when you sign the players, when you invest, you want to see a return on your investment. So when you employ a coach, when he signs a contract, he also has to be mindful of the fact that it's a performance appraisal at the end of that period of time. Whether it be a year or 2, he's going to be appraised. And he's going to be appraised on those points that you and the management of Kaizer Chiefs as the coach, if you, Peter du Toit, and you are now the guy that's applying for the job or has been approached, you're going to decide to sit down with him and agree on those points. The one being, it's a 3-year contract, 2 years with an option to renew. The second one being that you're going to ensure that the team finishes in the top 3.
Deliverables. There'll have to be deliverables.
The deliverables. You're also going to ensure that there's going to be a philosophy, a style, a game model, an identity. Now, just looking at those, we must agree that they haven't been delivered in the season. We look at the fact that there's no philosophy of play at Chiefs. There's no style of play from one week. Every week, Peter, yourself, myself, and Sample, we sit there and we talk about how different the team is from one moment. And we don't know really why, but they have signed players, 10 of them. And if I look at the 10 of them, for me personally, only 4 of them have really put up their hand. You sign a player like Morris and you hardly ever use him. The question is, why sign him then in the first place? You have a goalkeeper that you signed from Galaxy who's been possibly the worst goalkeeper Chiefs have ever signed, to be quite blunt. And that speaks to the fact now that if you had been part of the decision, because I'm sure that when these players were signed, Peter, it was after this pre-season that you spoke about, this pre-season in Turkey. For the first time, Chiefs have been able to go to Europe for a pre-season, okay? And they've done that, and they haven't saved any cost to ensure that the coach gets what he wants. So therefore, on those bases, he will be judged to have not succeeded as far as the mandate. Yes, he's won a league title, and maybe they should consider that this could be a beginning of bigger things. But looking at the bigger picture, from a business point of view, as a businessman yourself, Peter, it's going to make you a little bit doubtful that if you've spent so much money, would it be just procrastinating, just making the problem, happen for another season? And you wouldn't want that to happen, because this win was so important, Peter.
Yeah. The two questions I'd ask you straight on that is that if they let him go or fire him, well, no, let's first look at if they kept him. If they kept him or keep him, what are the signs out there that show that the next season could be successful? Before you answer, I don't think there are any signs. I'm talking about the league. The only potential would be what new signings they make. And is he the man to make that team better?
I was going to say, Peter, that if they make some real good signings, I think Nabi will have players moving forward. I think he will be able to probably then have that one season of experience, knowing the club better, knowing the culture better, knowing the people better, getting to know exactly what it is expected of. Not that he didn't know in the first place, but this year obviously gives him that added year of experience with the club. But buying players, similarly to signing coaches, don't guarantee success, Peter. You got to look much deeper. You got to look much deeper. What makes a successful company? Let's talk about a company, because football is a company. Football has become a business. It's a company. So what is your investment in a company as an owner is your financial investment. What do other people bring along is what we call intellectual investments. If you hire Farouk Khan, he doesn't come with an investment of finances. He comes with intellectual investment. And if you put the two together, then you have a recipe for success. Now, if there's a disconnect between the two, you have a problem, because you could sign a few good players next season and you could still have results that we've seen this season. I mean, this has been a poor season, to say the least, notwithstanding that they still have to win the last two games to stand a chance of finishing in the top 8. So it's been a disaster when you talk about the marathon. A marathon is where you judge your culture, not a cup. Any coach can win a cup, with all due respect. I was at Santos, a team that was struggling, and I managed to win the EPSA, which is now the Nedbank. Okay?
Yeah, that's the trophy.
I was there for a season and a half, and I did it. It didn't make me a super coach. It only meant that on the day, I managed to overcome certain obstacles, and I managed to beat Gordon, who was a very, very experienced coach who had won 4 titles prior to that. So it didn't make me a super coach. All it meant was on the day I had a little bit more luck and a little bit more fortune to win that cup. Because
I think you're doing yourself a disservice there. You did well with a very, very average team. So I think you're doing yourself a disservice. I think when you do well in that kind of level, you've definitely proved yourself. Farouk, so let's look at this. Number one, I agree with you, and I think the viewers out there agree with you as well. Number one, Nabi's had an entire season to get this right. The biggest problem for Nabi is that the second half of the season has been worse than the first half of the season, and the second half of the season is when the club gave him reinforcements, and I think that's the biggest point against him. The point for him that at least this season the football has been a little bit more attacking, and they played off the front foot, which is good. But on the other hand, the defending has been shocking, which is bad. The fans do like him, and they haven't turned against him. That's also something in his favor. But I think right now you cannot have your rivals come in first and second and you not even making the top 8 once again. So I think on that basis, he's been a failure. And the other point that I found was telling, and I urge viewers to go and do this, is look at the post-match press conference. They just won the Nedbank Cup. And Nabi and his interpreter stroke coach, assistant coach, are sitting there. They got the medals around them. And Nabi is not ecstatic. In fact, the one thing he mentioned that he hopes Kaizer Chiefs management will look at Orlando Pirates' model and how they reacted after they won the Nedbank Cup and the changes they made. And that was basically saying to the club, hey, give me time. Follow the Orlando Pirates method. They haven't won the league, but look what they've done. So those were quite telling. But let's jump to assuming he goes. There's no guarantee that the person who takes over will be successful. And I've made a list of coaches that I think could be in the running for the job. And I don't want to be nasty to Nabi here, but our job is to look ahead. So assuming that the newspaper article is correct and he loses his job, there are two issues here, though, Farouk. Number one, the recruitment they're going to make for the next coach has got to be spot on. And I'm not sure who's responsible for recruitment. And secondly, the coach they get has got to be in a position to be able to improve the current players, because you're not going to buy 11 new players. So they've certainly that coach has got to have the ability to make the current squad way better and then supplement them with some quality signings. And we'll talk about quality signings and who the club should keep as players and not at the end of the season. Myself, you and Seppa will address that in Talking Chiefs. But let's look at that entire setup. I think Nabi's mistake was not having a local assistant and a few local people on the bench. And I just want to talk to you about that. Who would you bring in? Now, I'm going to include you on the list, but you don't have to comment. If I was Chiefs right now and I was looking to bring in a new coach, certainly one of the assistant coaches would be a local, and you would be my choice. You know the game, you've been there, you sat on the bench when they've won things, you've got your own academy, you understand how to merge youth with senior players. But let's take you out the equation. Who would you bring in as a local? I mean, I know Doc very well. Doc was there, and I rate him highly. Just his presence is important. He was there when Stuart Baxter won the league. You got someone like Mongoba has done that assistant job at Sundowns. He knows how to win leagues. Those two would be good in my opinion. Are there others that you'd bring in to assist? I mean, Mongoba should be a guy for take a head job as well.
Well, I think in fairness, there's many top tacticians in the country, and I think we've grown in as far as developing coaches to be able to coach at the top level. Without dropping names, I think we don't need to put the horse and cart before the horse. The first thing would be to employ a coach, Peter, that has the philosophy, the style, the skills to build a team. You don't need somebody at this moment to just come in and hit the ground running, winning a trophy or two, because you have to ensure that you are cognizant of the fact that Sundowns are still a force to be reckoned with in the country. You have to be cognizant of the fact that Orlando Pirates have built a very formidable team. Both of those have, excuse me, notwithstanding the likes of Skokone and many other clubs, Stellenbosch have also done a lot of good work in ensuring that there's longevity in results moving forward. The only thing with clubs like Stellenbosch, they sell the best players, so there's obviously that bit of a disadvantage that they have. But the bigger clubs maintain their best players. So when that happens, you need to ensure that you don't do what you've done for the last 15 years, Peter. You've tried to solve this problem by bringing in a coach. They brought in Vivi. Good coach, won one or two cups. They brought in Stuart Baxter, won a league or two and cups. And the question is, when those guys left, what did they leave behind? Chiefs had to start from scratch again, building upwards. You don't want that. You want somebody that can build a philosophy, a style, a game model that whoever they employ, out of 10 top coaches, they could choose one out of those top coaches and he would do very well. Like we've seen. I mean, Barcelona have brought in a coach from Germany, was an assistant in Germany, was a coach at Bayern Munich, and he's now hit the ground running, even though they were in transition with these younger players. But what Barcelona haven't lost is their culture, their philosophy, their style. The way they play now is no different to the way they played when Pep was there. There's no different from the coaches that they were before. And the same thing with Real Madrid. Now that their coach is gone, they're bringing in a coach who's going to hit the ground running because the foundation is strong. I can't say the same about Chiefs. The foundation is very shaky, Peter. You have so youngsters coming through, but there's no place for them in the first team. And you could understand.
So Farouk, let's look at a few coaches that could improve the situation in the short term and also do this long-term growth that you're talking about. But before we do that, guys out there, please press the subscribe button. We want to hit 50,000, and there's going to be a 50,000 Rand prize for the viewers, for the subscribers, I should say, once we've done it. So please, guys, don't forget to subscribe. We really enjoy and love your support. So let me throw some names at you, Farouk, that are available or could be available. For example, and then Pitso Mosimane is available. He comes, forget cost, but he brings his own team in, but they're local people. He knows the league. He knows how to win things. He's won things wherever he's gone. He would be somebody who would fix things quickly in the short term and build something in the long term, because he did that at Sundowns. He's the one. Secondly, Rulani. He's available. Rulani Mokwena. He's available. He's cut his teeth at Pirates. He cut his teeth at Chipper. He went to Sundowns and he kept the Pitso legacy, or the Motsepe legacy, going by winning the title there as well. He's had a kind of negative experience in Morocco, but he's somebody I don't think he brings the guarantee that Pitso will, but he brings in young players and he'll bring in a football philosophy that would fit in with what Chiefs are looking at. Then there's Benni McCarthy. Benni, he's at Kenya, but I know for a fact there's an escape clause. He was a Kaizer Chiefs fan growing up. He's done his first season at every new club has been exceptionally good. He would definitely turn this thing around. Would he be there for the long term? I don't see why not. He's much more experienced right now, and he could certainly bring a lot of life, and his teams play good football. And then there's who is not officially available, but I can tell you now, he would make himself available, is Steve Barker. People close to him tell me that this is a job he'd love to have. He would absolutely, there's no doubt that he's got the ability to, what he's done with Stellenbosch, he would be able to do at Chiefs. Don't tell me there's more pressure. There's a lot of pressure when you're at a team that you keep changing. So he knows how to build teams. Half the players playing in the big teams are from Stellenbosch anyway. So those are the names that I feel that it would be available straight away. And I'm going to throw another name, Fadlu Davids. I know he's not been as successful in South Africa, but he's got Simba into a final. They're second on their league table. They're a massive club in terms of sport, same as Kaizer Chiefs. He's probably less experienced with them, and he might be a bit of an outsider, but he's got a good coaching head on him. Of those, Rulani, Pitso, Steve Barker, Benni, and Fadlu. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think they're all very good coaches, and I think, as you rightly pointed out, they've proven beyond a doubt that they can turn things around at the clubs that they were at. Obviously, Chiefs is a totally different kettle of fish, but I think they have the qualities, and I've been an admirer of all those coaches that you've mentioned. In the short term, they've cut their teeth and they've done extremely well. There's one name you may have alluded, that's Mosimane Brown, who was a wealth of experience. And
I've got his name there. I've got his name there with Mushin as a technical director. I would bring Mushin in as technical director.
Technical director, maybe initially even as a coach, you should be considered. I'll tell you why I say this, Peter. What I've seen over the last few years with Mushin going abroad, looking at innovations, looking at new ways of bringing through players and bringing success to clubs. You know, Mushin, when he was there compared to now, is a different Mushin. He's much more experienced. He's much more knowledgeable. And I think this could be a great opportunity for him to turn things around, having done so in the past. You know, he's got it. No disrespect to the other guys that you've mentioned. I think they're all very, very good coaches. But the only difference is Mushin has had 2 stints at Kaizer Chiefs. And of late, Mushin has been very influential even in the Turkish football. He's been part of a FIFA technical committee. So he's got a wealth of experience that South Africans don't take advantage of. This was the saying when Foppadan was here. We had Foppadan in our hands, but we never made use of Foppadan. And that is sometimes
one of the
that's sad, because they have such a wealth of knowledge which we could utilize. So I would be very comfortable with any of those names that you've mentioned, including the last one which I've mentioned, which was Mushin. And I think they could turn the things around if they do decide. But I would hate to think that you fire Nabi and the coach coming in doesn't produce what you need, which is not just to do well in the league as far as top 8 is concerned, but leave a legacy, leave something that the next coach or technical team can build onto. I think that is what I would like to see as a former coach of Kaizer Chiefs, that they have a situation where now, when you look at Chiefs, whether you look at the first team, whether you look at the academy, whether you look at the under 12s or the latest team, you see the same methodology, mentality, philosophy, game model, call it what you want. And that is a mark of a great team. That's what we constantly applaud. I mean, you watch Barcelona over the weekend when they played in the Clásico. I was glued to the TV. It was so entertaining, so many goals. And this is what we want to see. We want to see those talented players that Kaizer Chiefs spent so much money on come to their full potential and fruition. And you need a coach who's able to do that. And I don't want to punt Mushi because not many seem like I'm punting, but he's done that in the past, Peter. He's done that. When Chiefs were the most successful team, that man was at the helm. I'll never forget there's a player, Gerald Sibek, who is still now the general manager at Chiefs. And when people look at Gerald, he's still a very short person, very short. And I said to Machine one day, after the likes of Jabu and Nemo promote, I've got a player that you'd really like. And he said, well, let's have a look at him. And when he looked at him at first, he said, Coach, but this guy is very small. And I said, but Machine, just look at him in a game. And I promise you, when that game finished, he came to me, he says, listen, send this boy. I like him. Immediately. He didn't look at his height. He didn't look at his division. He saw something in that kid. And that kid went on to play brilliantly in the first team. So
very intelligent player.
Very intelligent player. It comes with proper development. He was in the School of Excellence. I brought him, Tsepo Mashishi, Rufus Makoti, Gerald Sibeko, Uzid. I brought him from the School of Excellence to Chiefs when I became the head of development. And another star was Moffat Mafuka. So that ensured that when Chiefs needed those youngsters to perform, he was brave enough to say, Farouk, bring them. Let's see what we could do. And that synergy was the reason why the team eventually was able to do what we called Operation Fat Alles, if we can recall.
But Farouk, what I'm saying that my thing is that what Chiefs need is a technical director who's not part of the family, someone who knows South African football, someone who knows international football, and somebody who knows Kaizer Chiefs intimately, and somebody who knows who believes in youth. And I would see Mushin Ertugrul, if I was the Times, I'll put Mushin Ertugrul as technical director that oversees the youth and the first team and the playing style, so that even if the first team coach doesn't deliver, when a new coach comes in, it could be like at Barcelona and Real Madrid, that the new coach is not that important as long as he adapts the playing style that the club has. And there are a string of youngsters coming through, because that would happen with Mushin Ertugrul. But I agree with you, he would do a good job as the number one. But just going back then, the others we mentioned are Mushin Ertugrul, Pitso, Mosimane, Rulani, Mokwena, Steve Barker, and Benni McCarthy. Possibly Fadlu Davis. Now, Farouk, I'm going to give some names to you that could be on a list for Chiefs. I'm not saying on their list, they could be on a list, and I'm going to give you two surprise names that I wouldn't be surprised if something's happening. So the other names that could be on a list are Joseph Zimbabwe, who is now with Kabylie in Algeria. They're second, they're top of the table, equal on points. He played good football with Pirates. He knows the league. They were unlucky not to win the league. He's been at the top. Everywhere he's gone, he's been in the top two. He's a proper coach. He's a gentleman as well. I know he's been at Pirates, but I think he could do a good job at Chiefs, and I think they could tempt him. A coach that knows South African football as well. He actually won a league title with Sundowns and took Platinum Stars into an African place, and he got into the final. I think it was the Nedbank Cup final. It wasn't the Nedbank, but it was one of the finals with Platinum Stars. Is Miguel Gamondi. He is a top coach, and he was coach of Yanga when they hammered Chiefs 4-0 at the start of the season. He's also available, from what I can tell. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't discourage Chiefs from having looking at him as well. And somebody I know Chiefs were interested in the past, Seed Ramovic, who's now in Algeria. He's third in Algeria. But the two names I want to really throw at you that interest me is Marcel Koller, who's won every single trophy that is available with Al Ahly, albeit because obviously they're always favourites. He's just obviously been fired, and that's where I'm told Jose Rivera is going. He'll be announced at Al Ahly shortly. They've got a caretaker coach in there. But Marcel Koller has won everything there is in Africa. He's won top honours in Europe as well. I wouldn't be surprised. He's somebody Chiefs should actually look at. And then there's an interesting one. Krunoslav Juric, Pyramids head coach, has just said, they asked him, are you re-signing at the start of the season? He said, I'll only make my decision because I'm talking to other clubs as well after the final. Now, he could be using that as leverage. But I tell you what, Pyramids are a good side, but not a fantastic side. He's done a great job with him. There's another coach, Juric of Pyramids, who I wouldn't be, who Chiefs should certainly have on their shortlist because he knows how to win things and they play super football. So those are the guys, Farouk. Otherwise, anything else? What else would you like to comment on who Chiefs should be looking at if Nabi goes?
Well, I think all the names that you've mentioned are very, very highly qualified, experienced, successful coaches. I think what should happen, irrespective, I know Nabi wouldn't budge on his technical team. I still believe he should get some local knowledge around him, maybe one of the former legends who understand the team's culture better. Not that he doesn't understand, but you have to grow up with the club to understand the culture. You have to spend a number of years with an institution to understand what it is all about. I think whoever takes over should ensure that they have very, very good backup coaches because the head coach is only as good as the people behind him. What you see with Pep is not really the success of Man City. It's Pep as the front man who makes the decisions, but he's got a brain trust second to none. And I think once Chiefs are able to ensure that the brain trust is spread out across from youth level right to the top, Chiefs can get back to their former glory.
100%. So everybody out there on the comment section, and don't forget you have to subscribe to be on the comment section. On the comment section, let us know on the following points. Do you think Chiefs should fire Nabi at the end of the season? And if you think that they should, who should replace him as head coach? Who should be a technical director? And who should be assistant? Let us know in the comment section. Thanks, guys. Farouk, see you on Saturday for the Chiefs game. Cheers, guys. See you shortly.